Hello and welcome back to another Royal Reviewer video. Again, I'm coming at you in pre-recorded form this time. We will do another live chat very soon. Now, picking up from yesterday's video, or the last video, we still have Christmas decorations up. They are going today. We didn't have time yesterday to take them down. So this is the last time that you will see our Christmas tree this year. Next year, it will be getting changed up. So stay tuned for that one. You'll have to wait a whole 12 months. We're also joined by the lovely Beau. I don't know how long he will stay here for. I don't know how much of this he will be able to stomach. Maybe that echoes your sentiments too. Okay, so yesterday in the previous video, I said that I wanted to talk about the Meghan-Catherine feud. And I said that there was a lot written about it. A lot of leaks came out from Harry's memoir Spare, and I wanted to make a whole dedicated video to it because I felt that it would all get lost amongst all the other stories. Since yesterday, even more stories have come out, even more revelations, all the leaks. I will be dealing with those in the next video. So basically, let's take a look at what is really behind Meghan and Kate's long-standing feud, and I'm going to read it from an article and then break it down and dissect it as we go in chunks, because chunks are always a lot more manageable, aren't they? So it starts, the Duke of Sussex would once refer to her as the sister he never had, and I think that that is something that is very important to remember, because obviously Harry lost the main female figure in his life, of course his mother, and you know, he never had a sister, only had William as his brother. And I think having a female sort of presence around his age that was very close in terms of where they lived and all the rest of it was very helpful to Harry. Of course, he did have his cousins. He had Beatrice and Eugenie and Zara, of course, all female, around his age. But of course, Kate being with William was very close. They almost, you know, you remember the royal trio, as they were, they were known as, yeah, it was a royal trio, and then it became the Fab Four, the infamous Fab Four. So I think that was very important to him to have that kind of almost sisterly bond. However, in his new book Spare, which was released yesterday in Spain, unofficially, I still say it leaked. Prince Harry offers a new intimate and explosive insight into the fallout between his wife Meghan and Kate. He writes in extraordinary detail about how the women were both left in tears during the infamous bridesmaids' dress row. Well, at least now we have, you know, further details, further elaboration, at least on one side of the story, bearing in mind this is only a one-sided account. We don't have the other side. Detailing a disagreement over a shared lip gloss and how Kate was left hurt by Meghan's comments about her baby brain whilst pregnant. Right, well, I will make a note never ever to mention baby brain to Catherine if ever we meet. Anyway, so let's go back a few years before that to 2017. It's described as an awkward first meeting. So Prince Harry introduced Catherine to Meghan, who they had been dating for 6 months at that point, in January of 2017. Meghan is said to have met Prince William separately from Catherine 2 months prior to this. I remember talking about this at the time. While the Princess of Wales was in Norfolk with her family. Of course, obviously, Catherine was Duchess of Cambridge back then. So titles are a little confusing, especially when they've been updated. The new couple just returned from their first romantic holiday together in Norway, where they reportedly watched the Northern Lights. How romantic. A source told The Sun that Catherine was really looking forward to meeting Meghan. An insider said they are very close and he really values her opinion on girlfriends. Obviously, Harry's mother, Princess Diana, died when he was very young, so Kate really fulfills the older sister maternal role. At this time, it was reported the meeting had gone really well, and it had been important to the Duke that the princess liked his new partner. However, despite the reports, Meghan recounted in the couple's Netflix series, Harry and Meghan, that the introduction had been awkward. Meghan recalls that she was barefoot and wearing ripped jeans when she first met Catherine. Discussing the meeting, she said she did not know the formality continues behind closed doors and that she is a hugger, which she did not realise was jarring for some Brits. She admitted she was surprised there's a forward-facing way of being and then you close the door. Now, I'm not sure in the timeline, in this particular timeline, when Meghan met the Queen. And Meghan first met the Queen at Royal Lodge with Andrew and Sarah, because they spoke about that in the Oprah interview. So I'm not putting words in Meghan's mouth. And she said that she was surprised at that time about how the formality continues behind closed doors, that she had to curtsy. And of course, we had the infamous recounting of the curtsy event when Meghan did a very exaggerated, very mocking pose, which many just regarded as being very insincere. I think is a very kind way of putting it. I mean, it was very disgraceful mocking of the Queen, and that did not go down very well here in the UK. So depending upon the timeline, if meeting the Queen potentially came first before Catherine, then she already knew that formality continued behind closed doors. If it was the other way around, and she met Catherine before the Queen, then she would have known that when she was meeting the Queen, that formality continued behind closed doors. So I feel like Harry's kind of shot Meghan in the foot. He's dropped her in it, hasn't he? He's gone and dropped her in it. Because, again, it doesn't add up. So anyway, Meghan admitted she was surprised there is a forward-facing way of being and then you close the door. Well, yes, that's what she thought. She thought that you come, it's all pomp and circumstance in front of the cameras, a bit like acting, and then behind closed doors, you're different. Well, in the royal family, it isn't. She said, even when, although why didn't Prince Harry tell her? Anyway, she said, even when Will and Kate came over and I was meeting her for the first time, I remember I was in ripped jeans. I was barefoot, like the barefoot Contessa. Like I was a hugger. I've always been a hugger. I don't realise that it's really jarring for a lot of Brits. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with being a hugger. I don't mind people hugging. It doesn't really bother me. But yes, we Brits are not necessarily a nation of overly, overt hugging. No PDAs, thank you very much. We're British. But yes, so perhaps, Catherine's just maybe not a public hugger. I mean, even not in public. She doesn't have to be, and neither does Meghan really have to not be a hugger. I mean, it's just one of those things. I think I'm going to say right at the outset here that I think Meghan and Catherine are both very, very different ladies. They were both brought up very different backgrounds, different countries, different cultures, and I just think they're not the sorts of women or people that naturally gravitate towards each other. I think when you're making friends, when you're in a room full of new people, I think there's this natural gravitation towards people that you would naturally have things in common with. I'm not saying they don't have anything in common. They both like tennis, and that's probably it. They both like tennis. They're both married, now to princes who are brothers. They both like tennis. They like tennis. So yeah, they did that. I just don't think they are naturally pally girly girls that would get together, and they don't have to be. There's no, I don't expect them to be. But anyway, she started to understand that the formality on the outside carries through on the inside. Well, the penny dropped. That there is a forward-facing way of being, and then you close the door and think, okay, we can now relax. That formality carries over on both sides, and that was surprising to me. Well, Harry should have told her. When the engagement was announced, Meghan had also paid tribute to Kate for welcoming her into the family. Catherine has been absolutely amazing, as has William as well. Fantastic support, Meghan said in an interview to mark her engagement to Harry. Now, tensions ahead of the wedding. This is where it starts to get interesting. So as Meghan was introduced into royal life, Prince Harry penned there were signs of discord between his future wife and sister-in-law. In his book, he detailed how Meghan asked to borrow a lip gloss from Kate ahead of their appearance at the first Royal Foundation from the summit, Forum Summit in 2018. Oh, bring your own lip gloss, my goodness. I don't go anywhere without, my lip gloss. Elizabeth Arden, 24 hours, amazing. Hashtag non-sponsored. They come in a little pot and a stick, just a little secret there. Oh, anyway, enough makeup tips, my goodness. So anyway, Meghan, for whatever reason, didn't have her lip gloss. She asked to borrow Catherine's. I'm not sure how I'd feel about someone asking to borrow my lip gloss. I'm just hygiene. I mean, Anyway, he writes that Catherine was surprised but rummaged around in her bag before offering it to Meghan. So we know that Catherine carries lip gloss. Harry goes on to claim that Meg applied a little gloss to her finger and rubbed it across her lips before Kate made a disgusted face. I'm trying to do the face. What was it? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I would love to see Catherine's disgusted face. The summit was William, Kate, Harry and Meghan's joint venture and was intended to harness the star power of the 4 high-profile royals. I remember it well, because I reported on it. At the time, Harry said working as a family does have its challenges, but insisted we're stuck together for the rest of our lives. Well, until one leaves. Harry was quick to clarify that there were healthy disagreements and joked they come so thick and fast, and when asked what the last thing they quarrelled on was, William continued the banter, quipping, is it resolved? We don't know. Ooh, code. If only we knew at the time. But Harry steered the topic back towards a serious message, adding, I think it's really good we have got 4 different personalities and we all have that same passion to make a difference. We have different opinions and they work really well together. Working as family does have its challenges, of course it does. I think the fact that everyone is laughing shows how exactly what it's like. But we are stuck together for the rest of our lives. There were reports that Catherine and Meghan clashed over bridesmaids' dresses ahead of the wedding in 2018. It was claimed Meghan had made Kate cry during a row over the outfits. So yes, we all remember this. Meghan, there was stories and rumours, and then Meghan spoke about it in the Oprah interview, saying that it was the other way around. From her point of view, Meghan cried. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment because I think it becomes a little bit more clear. And it's a little bit silly. Anyway, we'll get to that. So one unnamed friend claims Catherine wanted to follow protocol. Now, I don't know whether there technically is an official protocol, but anyway, I think traditionally bridesmaids, including Charlotte, typically would have worn tights. But Meghan apparently disagreed. In his book Revenge, Tom Bower claimed unnamed sources told him the Duchess of Cambridge and Duchess of Sussex disagreed over the length of Princess Charlotte's hemline and the fit of her dress. He also claimed Meghan's insistence was supported by bridesmaid Jessica Mulroney, adding, some would say that Meghan compared Ivy, who is Mulroney's daughter, favourably against Charlotte. My goodness. It's getting heated. So the Duchess of Sussex later disagreed in her bombshell Oprah Winfrey interview, claiming it was the other way around and adding Kate, was upset about something but she owned it and then she apologised and she brought me flowers. Meghan also said it wasn't a confrontation. I don't think it's fair for her to get into details of that because she apologised. What was hard to get over was being blamed for something that not only I didn't do, but that happened to me. And the people who were part of our wedding were going to our communications team and saying, I know this didn't happen. I don't have to tell them what actually happened. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just go up, I suppose. No, I'm not going to go up. I'm going to go to what Katie Nicholl said at the time. Said Kate never wanted reports of a rift to come out in the press and had found the situation mortifying. From what I hear, there are different versions of the bridesmaid story, so recollections may vary. Not just the one that Meghan discussed, the royal expert told the publication. Kate felt it was all sorted, so to have it brought up again was mortifying. Kate is not in a position to respond, and Meghan and Harry know that. That is the thing about all these, I suppose, revelations coming out in the book. Harry knows that William and Catherine are not going to be able to respond. It opens up this kind of tit for tat. And I really do think that, in this circumstance, that the kind of the motto of never complain, never explain does fit. I know what Harry's saying behind the scenes. If there is information that the palace wants to get out, they will talk to journalists unofficially to get it out. But to formally confront something in the way of a statement, which is, I think, what Harry wanted the royal family to do, it gets into that kind of tit for tat with the press, or, and it doesn't land very well. It opens up to more questions and therefore more explaining. It really is best to kind of do it the way that they have been doing. I don't think it's to necessarily avoid accountability. It's to not expose further, I suppose, in a way, because a lot of these stories that came out at the time actually, as we are now finding out, did have some basis in truth. Yes, some of the detail was a little bit skewed and maybe not 100% accurate, but there was a row over bridesmaids' dresses. There was the tiara gate, blah blah blah. So, by the way, I am wearing the Duchess Augusta tiara today, based on the Lover's Knot tiara is based on this one. Queen Mary copied the Duchess Augusta, so this one has pearls on the top, and I am wearing the Cambridge pearl brooch as well. So anyway, I think that the never complain, never explain, in the way that it has been working with the kind of palace leaks to the press, just to clarify a few things where necessary, is the best way to go. And I think the royal family are best at the moment staying quiet, because Harry's revelations, he's shooting himself in the foot left, right and centre, not to mention making himself an actual target from the Taliban. I mean, my goodness. Anyway, let's just scoot down. Rather than put the whole issue to bed, Prince Harry revisited the argument in his book, offering new explosive details. This is where it gets interesting. He said, Kate messaged Meghan days before the wedding, stating there was a problem with the bridesmaids' dresses, specifically Charlotte's. Fair enough. If there's a problem with your child's outfit for a big public event, even if you're not royal, if it's a family event and the bridesmaids' dresses doesn't fit, you would speak up, wouldn't you? He claims Meghan tried to send Kate to the tailor at the palace to have it fixed. Again, fair enough. If you're the bride and you're saying and your bridesmaids' dresses don't fit properly, you try and get it sorted. So fair enough. According to Harry, Meghan found an hour to chat to Kate, who said Charlotte's dress was too big for her and she had cried when she tried it on. Okay, I think we got little details about Charlotte crying coming out in the press. Telephone conversation, not necessarily a bad thing. The Duke also wrote that it wasn't the only issue Kate had with the planning of the wedding, mentioning an issue with the page boys, but didn't go into further detail. Well, we can't comment on something if we don't have further detail, but it does show that there were more issues. After the discussion, Harry said he returned home to find Meghan sobbing on the floor of the kitchen. Is this by the dog bowl? Maybe. Overcome with stress and worry. Okay. Weddings can be stressful, obviously. And if you're the bride, there is the bridezilla. I'm not necessarily saying that Meghan was bridezilla, but, He added that Kate arrived at the house the next day with a card and an apology flowers. Fair enough. If you've said something and you think that, even if it's a genuine concern, if you think that you've upset someone, you apologise. It's the decent thing to do. Meghan described the episode as a turning point in her relationship with Kate, but the tension didn't stop there. Harry also writes that Meghan and he were upset that William and Catherine switched place cards to rearrange their tables at the royal wedding. He says that the Cambridges later insisted it was not them, but it had been another guest. Okay, are we thinking switched place cards as in just like a side-by-side switch? Did William and Catherine just swap places, or did they swap tables? Were they not happy with the table they were put on? If they were not happy with the table that they were put on, why were they not happy with the table they were put on? Did Harry and Meghan almost try to stitch them up at the wedding? I don't know, because let's not forget, stories, we'll be talking about this in the next episode. There is a story come out that Harry claims he wasn't William's best man, or he didn't consider himself to be William's best man. So obviously Harry's wedding came after Williams. So was that some kind of way to make William feel like less important? Maybe he was put on a different table further away. I don't know. I'm just saying there could be wider context to that, about why they possibly switched place cards, if indeed any of these claims happened. So according to Harry, after he and Meghan returned from their honeymoon, the Prince and Princess of Wales invited Harry and Meghan to their flat at Kensington Palace. Well, it's not really a flat. A flat is a one-level building. It's an apartment. It's like you know, a 4 or 5 story apartment with about 30 rooms. So it's not a small flat. It's quite an elaborate wing. It's a wing of the palace. Anyway, but the chat over tea and biscuits in June of 2018 descended into further conflict. Harry laid out in extraordinary detail the meeting with William and Catherine when an attempt to mend the growing rift between the Sussexes and the Waleses failed. But both couples would end up sharing more gripes rather than patching things up. He described arriving at their home and said Meghan's mouth was open because of the decor, priceless art on the walls, books and furniture saying wow repeatedly. So I'm going to do a little enactment of what I think happened. So in walks Meghan and she goes, wow, I mean, my goodness, all this splendour, all these pictures, all the royal collection furniture that William and Catherine were allowed to choose from, all this splendour, the luxury. We saw I made a video of it ages ago when the Obamas visited and we saw inside one large sitting room. My goodness. So Harry described arriving at their Kensington Palace home and said Meghan's mouth was open because of the decor, priceless art on the walls, books and furniture saying wow repeatedly. Harry said they had been thinking to themselves that their neighbouring flat, well, it wasn't a flat, it's a cottage, Nottingham Cottage, not cot, had IKEA lamps and furniture we'd recently bought on sale with Meg's credit card on sofa.com. Right, I'm going to stop there for a moment and just dissect. Because Harry knows, as well as most people in the know, that William and Catherine also lived at Nottingham Cottage before and after their wedding, because their Kensington Palace wow home wasn't renovated at the time. So throughout their relationship, well, not all the way throughout, but for a big chunk of time, years and years, William and Catherine lived in the same house as Harry in Nottingham Cottage, minus Harry, because Harry lived elsewhere at the time. So it was William and Catherine's house prior to, and they didn't seem to have any issue with it. Yes, it's small. Yes, it's compact, bijou. It's not necessarily a luxury property. It's a cottage in the grounds of Kensington Palace. But still, it's a luxury to live right in the centre of London, in the grounds of Kensington Palace, all the royal protection that it offers. It's a perk. It's definitely a perk, and it's not something, you know, he needs to go and check his privilege, because he was privileged to have that cottage, however small it might be. Many people do not have that. And William and Catherine lived there too, quite happily. Anyway, after marriage, William and Catherine were obviously given the apartment at Kensington Palace, the luxury apartment that was going to be renovated. Now, post-marriage, it transpires that Harry and Meghan were also offered a similarly, can't say that word, grand apartment. In fact, the one right next door, that was occupied at the time by the Gloucesters. Now, it turns out the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester had offered up their big home. They didn't need it anymore. Their children had already, you know, left home and had their own lives and their own children, and they wanted to move to another property further back on the Kensington Palace grounds. So they actually offered up this big, huge apartment, about the same size as William and Catherine's, and the same scale in grandeur, to Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan said no, they refused it. I think at the time they were having all these issues with William and Kate. They perhaps didn't want to live next door. So they opted for one property, which of course ended up being Frogmore Cottage, which also needed a grand renovation. So he can't turn around and make this comparison that he was treated like the spare and he wasn't given a good property. William and Catherine had the same house, and he was offered a very similar property exactly next door to William and Catherine's house, apartment, if you like. So I'm not really buying that, Harry. I'm just not buying it. Anyway, they then sat down for a cup of tea and some biscuits. I wonder what biscuits they were. Do you reckon they were Bourbons? Maybe Bourbons. Where they were, maybe some jammy Dodgers. Anyway, asked after the Wales' children, and they had been asked about their honeymoon. But after that, Meghan decided to raise the question of their relationship and tensions going back to when she started dating Harry. Okay, so you've gone for a friendly chat, you've gone for a nice cup of tea, you've gone to discuss your honeymoon, blah, blah, blah. And then you purposefully bring up tensions. Was she thinking straight? I mean, it is good to get things out in the open, but, you know, do you do it at that moment? Was that a wise choice? She suggested there had been crossed wires when Kate thought Meghan wanted to use her connections in the fashion industry, but in fact she already had her own. Okay, so maybe Catherine thought that Meghan wanted to use her connections. Anyway, Meghan was saying, no, I've got my own connections. I don't need your connections. So Meghan suggested that these problems had been magnified by the wedding preparations and the discussions over bridesmaids' dresses. Probably true. Harry wrote that there were further issues, including William and Kate feeling disgruntled they hadn't received a gift for Easter. Now, I'm assuming then that William and Catherine had sent Harry and Meghan a gift for Easter, because if they hadn't done, then I don't know why they would have been expecting one in return. I mean, if someone does send you a gift for an occasion like Christmas or some other than a birthday, I don't think you have to return the favour for. Well, no, maybe if someone gives you a birthday present, it might be cordial to reciprocate when it's their birthday. But anyway, they were expecting an Easter gift back. It could have even been an Easter card or an Easter basket. I don't know. Anyway, they wanted one. So Harry then claims that Catherine became upset and demanded an apology from Meghan for offending her when she mentioned her hormones after giving birth and suggesting it had affected her memory. This is the baby brain saga. So Meghan initially said she couldn't remember, but then she added she could remember what the disagreement was about. So they were at the fitting. This is how I'm imagining it. And maybe Catherine forgot something or got something wrong, and Meghan pointed out that it could be baby brain. Harry claimed Meghan said Kate had forgotten something, and she had told her it didn't matter because it was probably because of the hormones. Harry said Kate then said the two were not close enough for Meghan to talk about her hormones. Meghan then said she spoke to all her friends that way. Well, perhaps she did. William then called Meghan rude. Now, this, I think, happened not at the time. This happened when they were talking about it later at William and Catherine's home. William then called Meghan rude to her face and pointed a finger at her and explained these things are not done here. I don't know if he punctuated every word, but let's try it the other way. These things are not done here, Meghan. In an excerpt which lays bare the rift between the Sussexes and the Waleses, Meghan then told William, if you don't mind, keep your finger out of my face. You better keep your finger out of my face. Begone, finger. Begone, Willie's finger. Defending his wife, Harry wrote, Meg said that she had never intentionally done anything to offend Kate, and that if she had, she begged her to let her know so she could avoid a reoccurrence. Okay, fair enough. I mean, that sounds quite a sensible thing to say. The Duchess of Sussex is then said to have declared that she had not wanted to offend Kate. They all hugged and left. Harry said because they thought it best to head home rather than row further. Okay, so it seems to me like I think both of them cried. There was this whole thing about who cried. It seems to me like perhaps Catherine's reaction to what happened at the bridesmaids fitting about the hormones and saying that you don't know me enough to talk about my hormones. That perhaps made Meghan cry. But then it seems like the whole incident with the baby brain made Catherine cry. So I actually think the truth is that both of them cried. I don't think it was any way or the other. But at the Oprah interview, Meghan should have said, actually, the real truth is we both cried over the incident. Instead, Meghan tried to make Catherine look like she was lying. And I don't think that was the whole accurate truth, which then obviously, puts into question what else has been not the truth in everything that they've done since the Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the book, any upcoming interviews. Anyway, so meanwhile, he recounts another awkward moment, which saw the family celebrating Trooping the Colour. He said the mood was lively before Kate asked Meghan what she thought of the first parade of regimental colours, which Meghan quipped, colourful. Harry recalls the silence which followed deathly, and he said it threatened to engulf us all. So obviously, maybe Catherine thought that Meghan wasn't being sincere in her response. I don't know. Speculation of a falling out between the then Cambridges and Sussexes began to grow after the announcement that Harry and Meghan would be moving away from Kensington Palace to Frogmore Cottage. I remember it well. This is the time when we had all the talk about the tensions between, well, first of all, I think it came out that it was between Meghan and Kate, and then it turned out and transpired it was more between William and Harry. I remember reporting on it at the time. So again, people who were saying that the things that come out in the press are all lies and it's the lying British tabloids. Actually, there's always been at least some basis in truth in the stories that have come out. And I think that is why, the main reason why Buckingham Palace did keep quiet and, tried to do the never complain, never explain mantra, because to explain would have actually exposed that these things were true. And it may, have, the clarifications may have actually made it so that the whole story came out. Now it seems that Harry is doing that anyway, but the problem is it's not really making Harry and Meghan look good. It's not really making any of them look good particularly, but there's just no need for this. Anyway, let's continue. A source told Vanity Fair that Kate and Meghan are very different people and they don't have a lot in common, but they have made an effort to get along, which is what I spoke about earlier. However, speaking to members of the public outside Leicester University during her visit to the city with William in November 2018, Kate was asked about sister-in-law, the Duchess of Sussex's pregnancy. Asked if she was excited for Meghan and her new baby, Kate said, "Yes, absolutely. It's such a special time to have all the kiddies." She added, "and a cousin for George and Charlotte as well, and Louis, so it will be really special." Speculation of a feud reignited in December when rumours circulated that William and Kate would not be hosting the Sussexes at Animal Hall over Christmas after a ghastly row the previous year. Sources claim that Catherine had a quiet word with Meghan for reprimanding one of her staff, leading to the Duchess of Sussex complaining to Harry that she'd been told off. I mean, one of the things about a life of privilege and having staff is that you do treat them with respect. You're not a celebrity that has flunkies. These are people that help you to fulfill your role. However, a Kensington Palace spokesman shot down the story, saying this never happened. So, if Harry and Meghan are saying that there were no statements put out, that there were no corrections made, a Kensington Palace spokesman did actually shoot down the story in this case. On Christmas Day, Catherine and Meghan put on a united front as they chatted and smiled on the way to church. And I do have a little photo of them chatting and smiling on the way to church. Both looking rather glamorous, I have to say. Meanwhile, reports began to emerge. Meghan was very sensitive about being number 2 to Kate. Royal author Tom Quinn claimed that during her time in the firm, Meghan rowed with Kensington Palace staff over getting the sort of attention she deserved. Speaking to the Daily Star online, Mr. Quinn said Meghan argued with Kate's staff after they turned down her royal requests, revealing it was almost as if in that one encounter it encapsulated for Meghan the problem that she had, that she's a princess, but she's number 2. Rank is very important within the royal family. It starts with the Queen or the King, the monarch, the sovereign. They are the most important, and it filters down the heir, blah, 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 blah. And it's a never-ending change of position, because every time there's a new birth, the line of succession does change. However, Harry, as William's brother, was always going to have a plum role within the institution, within the family, within the wider Commonwealth. He already had military appointments. He had, a role, and Meghan, within the Commonwealth. They were going on large foreign tours, successful tours. Of course, they revealed their complaints, about not feeling that they'd been asked if they were okay at the end of a very successful tour. You'd have thought that perhaps that may have marked the turning point in the press, where there was nothing but good stories coming out at that time. But anyway, Mr. Quinn, who wrote the memoir From Queen Mary to Meghan Markle, claimed the incident took place while Harry and Meghan were living at Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace. The royal author said he had spoken to someone who was there and was left really uncomfortable after Meghan rowed with a member of Kate's staff. He said the Duchess had asked the staff member to do something, but they told her, "I'm really sorry, I can't do that because I work for Kate." Tom claimed Meghan really felt she had been put in her place, and said that as a princess, she had assumed that when you ask staff to do something, they are going to do it. Tom claimed Meghan went on to row with the member of staff, leaving Kate horrified. He said the Duchess had been so upset by the staff's behaviour because she feels conscious about being treated with the same respect as Kate. Well, of course, you have your own staff, don't you? So perhaps it was a request that was unreasonable. Perhaps it was a request that could have been fulfilled by one of Meghan's own staff. Perhaps the staff member was really busy doing something for Catherine. Who knows? Anyway, he added, she's very sensitive about not being treated with the same respect that she feels Kate is, so can react badly and doesn't take it lying down. The royal author went on to say that the alien environment where people behave towards you on the status of who you will be was alien to Meghan. I can understand that that's not, something that's done in the US. However, Harry knew. So at the start of 2019, Kate missed Meghan's baby shower in New York, opting for a secret family skiing trip. I mean, again, going back to the whole passports things, Harry and Meghan, were able to obtain their passports to go to baby showers, to go and see Elton John, to do whatever else they wanted. So that's just going back to the Oprah, what they said during the Oprah. Weeks later, reports began emerging that the larger conflict was actually between Harry and William, not Meghan and Kate. Prince Harry attended an Easter service at St George's Chapel without Meghan because she was heavily pregnant, and chatted with Kate but not William. Afterwards, Kate allegedly advised Harry to offer William an olive branch to repair their fractured relationship, and the complete and utter breakdown of communication between them. And I think that was actually something that was leaked to the press, I think in response to the whole tension story. So again, basis in truth. It was her suggestion that led the Sussexes to invite the Waleses to Frogmore Cottage, where they had tea and chatted for half an hour. I mean, not a very long time, but I remember it happening. But by June, Meghan and Harry officially split from the Royal Foundation, the joint charity they shared. Prince William and Kate attended Archie's christening that month and posed for a group photo. However, a source told US Weekly that the Waleses weren't happy about the Sussexes' decision to keep the celebration private. Well, I mean, normally you have some photos at christenings, and there were the typical photos. We haven't seen any of the Cambridge's children actually, being christened, so I'm not quite sure where that came from. Anyway, in July 2019, Kate and Meghan attended a charity polo match to watch their husbands play. Kate and Meghan were supporting William and Harry, and I remember that they were pictured together, and there was lots of speculation about whether or not they were, talking and being cordial, blah, blah, blah. In his biography, Finding Freedom, Omid Scobie detailed the two Duchesses' relationship had struggled to move past the distant politeness of which they first met. Their cordial but distant rapport was apparent when the pair appeared alongside each other at the King's Power The King Power Royal Charity Polo Day. You try and say that 3 times very fast. The previous summer. While the doting mothers were photographed next to each other with the children, the two appeared to barely exchange a word. So there we go. I'm going to kind of go through a little bit more because it just describes that kind of meeting. Anyway, by that autumn, in her documentary Harry and Meghan: An African Journey, Meghan said not many people had asked if she was okay. Apparently, a source told US Weekly that Catherine hated seeing Meghan and Harry so miserable and hoped William and Harry will eventually heal the rift and let bygones be bygones. The way she sees it, life is too short to make enemies, especially with loved ones. She's very level-headed like that. Kate's a family girl. I quite believe that. Then we get to Megxit. So in January of 2020, Harry and Meghan announced they were quitting as senior members of the royal family. A royal source told The Sun that following the official Sandringham summit, Kate and Meghan, who was in Canada at the time, did join in with some of the talks on more than one occasion, which is another sign, a real thaw in the relationship. Things were getting better. At the Commonwealth Day service, Meghan and Harry's final official engagement was not exactly the warm reunion we were hoping for, and we all kind of saw that in the pictures that came out, didn't we? Meghan was seen to mouth hi and give a small wave to William and Kate, followed by a hello, and then the Cambridges took their seats in the high altar. Now, I remember at the time there was a thing about, since they left, what order should they enter in? Apparently the order going in was that the Sussexes would be very, very, very far back. It turns out that William and Catherine offered a bit of an olive branch by actually turning up at the same time to actually save Harry and Meghan some embarrassment. But anyway, so they were able to connect and bond to trips to Wimbledon, of course, Catherine and Meghan at times, but certainly more depth was required to form a relationship. Yes, I completely agree. So since then, there's been little public interaction between the two women and very few joint appearances. In fact, November 2020, it was revealed that Harry and Meghan didn't have much contact with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Despite that, people have said that Catherine would not forget how Meghan Markle treated her, but won't prolong their feud into the new year. Well, it turns out, obviously, with all this coming out, that at least Harry does want to keep the feud going, which I don't think is very, very helpful. So yes, according to Ingrid Seward, the mother of 3 was poised to be cordial with Meghan at the Platinum Jubilee in June, telling the Mirror she will be sure to be photographed kissing or hugging her. She knows there is no point in prolonging a feud that has the opportunity of being repaired. So some inside information that they still feel, perhaps at least at that time, that the relationship could be repaired. I'm not quite sure how things will go now. Anyway, in September of 2022, fast forwarding, all 4 were joined, well, William, Catherine, Harry and Meghan went out for a surprise joint walkabout following the death of the Queen. It was Meghan and Kate's first joint appearance together since the Commonwealth Day service. I was very happy to see them do this. However, throughout the walkabout, which is believed to have lasted some 30 minutes, William and Kate and Meghan and Harry appeared to stick to their 2 couples, perhaps instructed by their aides, and barely interacted during the sombre occasion. At times during the walkabout, all 4 split up to greet and speak to members of the public. Months later, Harry and Meghan went on to share their explosive Netflix series in which they discussed their time within the royal family in depth. And then obviously we've got to where we are now. I'm not entirely sure, you know, that these two women are ever going to be bosom buddies. Like I said, they're not the sort of people that naturally gravitate towards each other, and that is fine. I think what will improve relations between the women is when, or if, or how relationships improve between William and Harry, if indeed they ever will now, because of what has come out. You know, I think any thawing in relations is going to take an extremely long time. Lots of royal watchers have been calling for Charles to do something to maybe start the process of removing the HRHs and their titles. I personally don't think that will happen, despite people may want it to happen. I don't think it will. I think it kind of plays more, it will play more into their victimhood. And I think they have most definitely been playing the victim ever since they left. I think for Harry and Meghan, the plan should be now, at least, to stop talking about it and just get on with life. Do your own projects, but don't do anything that you can be accused of profiteering off the back of course, your royal connections. Again, people, saying, why shouldn't Harry and Meghan have books out and give interviews when Diana gave an interview, Charles gave an interview? The difference is that was in the 90s, and actually, I think Charles would look back on that and say that that was a mistake. Diana too indicated to friends and close associates that at the time she felt that immediately after the Panorama interview went out that it was a mistake, and there are things that she regretted. So I don't think that's an argument to say, well, okay, Harry and Meghan should do it now in today's world just because his parents did it, when that was obviously a mistake. So again, if you want to avoid the generational pain, the repeating of mistakes of your parents, then he's not doing a very good job of doing that. In fact, he's making the same mistakes that they made. So I'm going to round up the video here. There's a lot of information, a lot of things to discuss. I think we've pretty much gone through the whole timeline of events. I will be back in the next episode, minus the Christmas tree, with some more of these leaks that have come out, because more have come out. So thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and of course do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.